Alright, hello party people. Today, I'm doing something a little different. Previously, before in my videos, I've done a ranking of Sonic music before, but now, doing things a little different, and I have a tier list. In 2024, I'm trying to do more than, just gameplay videos, so I thought, what better way to spice it up than a tier list? And now, I know my channel is more for Mario, but I don't know, I've been on a Sonic craze lately, as I drink water out of my Sonic mug. Anyway, we're just doing starting simple, the mainline games from 1993 to 2022. There is no superstars in this list, but you know what? How about I'll just tell y'all at the end. I have looked through. I have played every game, some more than others, obviously. But anyway, let's just get right into it with the OG Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, this one I have a soft spot for. I've said in previous videos that I own Sonic Mega Collection on the GameCube. And like this one and Sonic 2 were the ones I'd always go back to. And like Mean Bean Machine, but that's not mainline. So like, I know this one isn't perfect, like Labyrinth Zone, yeah. That one's still a pain to get through, and Scrap Brain's a bit of a challenge. Like, there isn't like the greatest level design out there, and like, if we're talking about like original Genesis, where like you can die on the spikes even after getting hit, that's awful. I mean, they updated it, and Spin Dashless is hard, but I mean, still a great start to the franchise. I feel like it almost gets like more flack, though I do know like 2 and 3 are really good. So you know what, I'll put it in B. I have a soft spot for it, and really, I think it has a lot of more good elements over bad. Next up, Sonic CD. Now this one I absolutely love. I didn't have a CD, and I don't think it was in Mega Collection, and I didn't own Gems. So I didn't get to play it through that, but I had the mobile version. So I have played like the nice, Christian Whitehead upgraded version. So maybe that's also why I think this one's so much better. But man, I just love this one. Like playing normally through it or playing to save the futures, like both versions are really fun to me. Wacky Workbench is really the only one I've ever actually disliked playing this game, and I actually recently played this. I've played this more recently than 1 to 3, so this is definitely the most fresh in my mind, and I absolutely loved it. It was such a good time. The animated intro is still absolutely peak. Probably one of the best classic Sonic animated things there is, if not the best. Easy A for me. It still has a lot of downsides, and 2D really isn't my favorite, but man, such a good time. And now for, I think, my favorite Sonic, 2D Sonic, maybe this or Advance 2, Sonic 2. Oh man, the introduction to Tails, you already got a huge bump up there, because this game, it's just absolutely amazing. Like, the water levels in this game, which I think is, the jungle one, man, I can't believe I don't remember it. It's a lot better than Sonic 1's by far, a lot less water elements, which helps a lot. One of my biggest problems with this game though is I always forget about Oil Rig Zone. I feel like it's just a random one thrown in there. Metropolis Zone is a bit wonky. Like the enemy placement. Oh, don't get me started on the enemy placement, man. It can get so annoying in Metropolis Zone. And the plane before you get on Eggman's battleship level, it's pretty slow. But honestly, overall, it's still just so fun. Emerald Hill, I love it. Chemical Plant, just so many iconic stages come from this game. I feel like it has more iconic stages than 1 and 3. I don't know. I feel like this one you can always go back to, and the first half is just absolute peak, and the second half is what, A, maybe B tier. So and also, like I said, when Mega Collection, I would play this one all the time, even over Sonic 1. This was my game for Sonic Mega Collection. So nostalgia as well, I'm definitely going to put it in S. I could see people putting it in A, but it's got to be S. So, in this tier list, Sonic and Knuckles and 3 and Knuckles are all separate. I mean, I'm just going to do Sonic and Knuckles, save everyone the hassle. Now, this game, I don't know, I just never seem to get into it. I mean, it's not too different from 1 or 2. It actually adds more stuff and cleans up the sprites a bit, but I don't know, just the bosses aren't as fun to me as Sonic 2 or 1. It's just the level design doesn't get me as hooked. I don't know, like this game and like later one you'll see just that are super popular I've never gotten into, but it's still a great game. Like like design wise it's definitely better than Sonic 1, but like I just don't get into it really. So like I like CD more, but like I would say this game is better. So like I'm trying to make this a list of like personal bias while also like being a realist, you know? Because then like what? Oh, this one's S tier. Like no, it's not an S tier game. I'm not that dumb. All right, so Sonic Triple Trouble. This one's really hard because I played the 16-bit remake, and if we're going by 16-bit remake, then it's up here. If we're going by Game Gear, then it'd be here. Because like the sprite work is like it's a bit harder to control. Like I could say all the stuff everyone gets for it being a Game Gear game, but the level design is still really good. And like the remixed versions, like obviously like Game Gear it's harder to get the proper thing, but like remixed 16-bit versions is really good. So in sense of Game Gear, it definitely has to go in C, but like I feel like I'd want to put in B for the 16-bit, but gotta be fair here. So you know I'm just gonna throw these two down here just so I don't lose track. Next is the easiest S tier of my life. Sonic Adventure. Okay, I don't want to hear it from anyone that says SA2 is better than SA1. SA2 has an amazing story with Shadow and stuff, but SA1, man, the gameplay is just so much better. I'm sorry, but Sonic gameplay I enjoy more in SA1. Tails gameplay is obviously better because it's kind of just more Sonic with Tails mechanics, which is so fun. Knuckles levels are way more fun to play. They're like, I feel like SA2s are too big, but I can't compare it to SA2 because we're gonna talk about SA2. Amy's story, while she's slow, I still enjoy it and I love what they did with her character in that game. Gamma, just the better mech stages, and man, he has a good story. Big is the issue. Big for sure. Like he can be hard to control, but like once you get it down, it's honestly just like a bite-sized fun adventure, and it's so cool to see. Like I realized this in my playthrough. It's like Big is fun. Like his story is fun just because it's like a guy that's not really there in the story, but he's there. He's just like a pedestrian. It's cool. It's like an outside perspective of what's going on, and the story is really good. Honestly, Chaos is so fun to like learn about, and you get like learning about it through Sonic and Knuckles and all of them. And Tails' arc is amazing. Amy's arc is amazing. Both have like great character arcs. Too bad it got ruined throughout the series. But like I think where we are in the future now, we're going back into the direction of adventure. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. But honestly, and I haven't even talked about like the areas. Like Station Square is awesome. Mystic Ruins is so fun. Like these are fun places. The levels are amazing. I love the locations. The music is so good. It's got a lot more variety than like more recent stuff does, which is a good and bad thing. Like I love what the future games do, but I do like Adventure's variety. What more could I say? If you haven't played Adventure, look, it's on Steam for like what, $7, and on sale it's like $2. So please. Now SA2, I did just dog on it a bit. I feel like my opinion, it's kind of funny, my opinions on like, I feel like the most popular Sonic games are so different from everyone else's. It's weird. It's not gonna be in C, by the way. But SA2, my biggest problems are that Sonic and Shadow are gameplay. It is amazing. It's still awesome. Metal Harbor is probably one of my favorite adventure era stages. But like Tails and Eggman just are so like tedious and boring to me. And Rouge and Knuckles take so long, and it's just not fun at all. And I have a mod that like shows each emerald location whenever, and it still just isn't fun to me. It just, the SA1 stuff is so much better. Like the story's amazing, the music's amazing, the locations, it definitely is more varied, I feel like, than SA1, but you know. It's just like when 2/3 of the gameplay I don't enjoy, and also like you go from like 6 play styles to 3, that really just feels like we went backwards more. So I think people might soon realize that SA1 is better. We'll see, but for me, honestly, like I couldn't put it below though. Just like the story and the music and the Sonic and Shadow stages still carry this game so hard. It's like, it's still Adventure era, you know. Like Adventure era has my favorite level design of Sonic, so I mean it's still like, if I want more Sonic and Shadow or if I want more Sonic from Sonic Adventure, then this is a good place to go. You know, that's where I'm going next. So now we got some Dimps handheld Sonic Advance. Now this is the one I probably played the least of the Advanced trilogy. Though it is still a fun time, I feel like it was still like the starter for what the Advanced trilogy was to be. So I still like, I kind of put it in here where like both of these have great moments and I feel like don't get talked about as much or like can be talked about in the wrong light, but they're still good times. But there's better in its series of games. And right from that, Advance 2. Now this one and Sonic Hedgehog 2 are like my favorite 2Ds. Though with Sonic Advance 2, like as soon as you get to Rail Canyon, the game gets really cheesy. So it's like with just dumb pits, dumb enemy placements. And so like it is a lot like Sonic the Hedgehog 2, where like the more you get into the game, it feels like some level design gets worse and worse. Though I would say the bosses are pretty fun. Sometimes they can get really annoying. I do have, this is the only advanced game I've actually played on the channel, though at the time of recording I'm not finished with the series, but it is still like, it's still a really fun time. I'd still say it's got better level design than Advance. Introduce Cream. I'm really glad she's in this game. I'm glad, I always enjoy, you know, the new characters. It's always such a grand old time, though. I mean, sadly with Cream's introduction they downgraded Amy's playability status, but we're not going to get into that. And Sonic Heroes, one of the most overrated games I have ever seen in the Sonic series. Like, that's the weird thing, like Sonic 3 and Sonic Adventure 2 I still think are overrated, but I still see where a lot of the praise is. This game I had a pretty good time with, but like you play the same story 4 times basically. You have to deal with super slippery controls where it like gets annoying to play through. Like again, like it feels like the more you get into the game, the worse the levels can get, especially with the jank. So like I understand where an appeal can be of like the triple team and like all the stories coming together at the end. So like I wouldn't say this is SA3, like it wouldn't be SA3, but it definitely has the elements of like it with the stories and stuff. But like man, like this game feels unplayable at times and it just gets unfun. And like if this game got a remaster, then I'm pretty sure it could get to A or S level. But for now, I'd B or C. Here's the thing, I would probably pick this game over these two. I am also like a, yeah. I don't know, I praise these two games more than Heroes, but I feel like I'd still want to play Heroes more. But that's just because like I'm just a sucker for 3D, but I can't put it in A or S, so you know, we'll just leave it here. Sonic Advance 3, yeah, so this one's level design is definitely a lot more unique, and one thing I really love about the game is the partner mechanic. It's such a fun way to learn new moves, get to play as, you know, if you have 2 favorites, you can choose between the 2. I've always enjoyed that about Sonic Advance 3, but it's kind of like Sonic 3, but not as much, where like I can't get into it totally. But it still is like, I can still get into it, you know, like if I'm going to play a 2D advanced game, I'm playing as Sonic Advance 2. I always abbreviate to SA2, but then like, you know, there's SA2. So, like honestly, I would definitely play it over Advance for like its partner mechanic, and I still think the level design is better than Sonic Advance, but like if I'm going to pick one, it's Advance 2. To put this in order though, yeah, I just realized up here is not the order. See, I'm going to probably put, like, it's going to be like a bit of personal preference up here. And also trying to make it, like, realistic by games. Like, I would probably pick it. I'd probably pick it in this order instead. But, like, that's not, nah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's probably how I like it now. Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, this is the funny one, because I said this thing about the slippery controls for Heroes. And so it's definitely the same for Shadow. And though this was one of, if not the first introduction to the Jason era cast, my favorite cast, and the best cast, it still was like, they definitely took in a weird route with not only the story, but with how the game is played. Because there's multiple endings that give Shadow multiple like ways his character can go. But then it gives a true ending where only one of the endings matter. So, with a game like this, obviously, like, you're gonna have multiple endings and there's a true ending. I feel like a lot of multiple path games do that. You know, because you want to know what really would happen. But I feel like with Shadows, there's 12. That's almost too many to really choose between, like, why would I want to do this to find the true ending? I would have rather preferred it be one mainstream where, like, he has a moment of being evil, then realizes what he's doing is wrong. So, it would probably be a redo of his SA2 arc in a different fashion, but I feel like that's what should have happened. Really, I feel like I like what it was trying to do with Shadow's character, not with the edge, but like with the arc of like just moving on from Maria and starting his life over, you know? But execution was not done well, and it has the same problem gameplay-wise with Heroes with the slippery controls. But man, the music in both slaps. Maybe that's another reason all Heroes up here is the music slaps, you know? But Shadow, yeah, realistically, I'd put it in C. It is a guilty pleasure, though. I do have a fun time with it, but nah, like I couldn't put it up here with these guys. Wow, this list is a lot shorter than I thought. Sonic Rush. Alright, the first introduction to the Boost in the Sonic series, which was a good or bad choice depending on what you think. Rush gave us the introduction to Blaze, which, you know, she's an awesome character. I really hope we get to see more of her in the coming games. I love her character. So this game, the level design, like the story already, like I love it, what they did. Like there's an alternate dimension where like, I like that it's not like, it's just a different Sonic. It's like a different character that has the Sonic role and like has all this different stuff. Like she's a princess and like Sonic's just a regular dude. It's really cool what they did there. I like that, and it's fun. It's very fun that they give Blaze Cream as like her partner, like to almost counteract Tails and Sonic. Which I mean, in Rush Adventure, then they give her Marine or Maroon, I forget. But you know, point still stands. You know, she's a really fun character, and I think Cream was a good choice with how they needed to break Blaze's like stubbornness, as long with Sonic's snarkiness. It was like the two perfect characters to do that. The locations, always a fun time. The bosses are like kind of okay. I'm on like this weird like divide on like some are really good, some just annoy the crap out of me. So I feel like the bosses bring it down a little bit, but like everything else is just so good, and the trick system's so fun. The boosting is so satisfying. It definitely is a rank A. You know, honestly, now that I think about it, it is a 2D game. I'd definitely actually pick it over these two. Wow, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, definitely Rush is what I'd put here. So, hey, having epiphanies myself. You know, honestly, you know, forget the realist thing. I'm putting personal preferences all the way. I was like, no, I don't think Sonic 3 over these. Yeah, forget being a realist. I'm being a personal preference. Sonic 06. Here we go. The game of all games. Story-wise, I definitely love Shadow and Silver stories. And speaking of Silver, bringing him in the game, love him as a character. He used to be my favorite for a while. I love Shadow and Silver stories. Sonic's at least drags it down so bad. Like, man, if anyone needed a rewrite, it was obviously Sonic, which, you know, he's the best. I mean, he's the main character, so that was definitely not good. Gameplay-wise, it's so hard because if I think Project 06, it's here. If I think in the game, it's about here. So that's the struggle. But I can't think Project 06 because like I did the same thing with Triple Trouble. So Sonic 06 as a whole, like it's a lot slower than it should be, and the combat is not as satisfying as it should be. But I mean, the locations are fun, and like the sucky thing is you could tell it was taking SA1 elements, SA2 elements. It was basically an adventure game without saying it was an adventure game, which makes it even more disappointing. It was such a flop. But I mean, like it's so hard because when I see this game, I just see potential, especially with P06. Like, it's so annoying. But the gameplay is definitely like halfway there because I'll still play the base game and enjoy it, but like it's still way slower than what it should be. I'd still play it over Heroes. Man, I don't know. Like, I feel like if I took 06 down, I'd take Heroes down too. So I'd have to say high B tier. That's also just because like it is another guilty pleasure for me, kind of like Shadow is. Like, I I do enjoy it. I'm a sucker for 3D in general. I love the designs of the characters, though. Like, I don't know if I'd want them permanently. Like, maybe shorten the limbs a bit, but I love the designs. Again, Jason era voice acting always boosted up, but man, it's just a bag of potential, really. Rush Adventure, I did say I played every. This is actually the only one I have not played. So, I mean, when you look at the list, I only haven't played one. It's almost like I should have played that before this list, but you know what? Whatever. I'm pretty sure it would be B or C, B or A. I mean, Secret Rings. Now this one. Again, I have to look at this as the lens of not using the controller I have for the emulator. I'm playing with the Wiimote. The Wiimote can be extremely janky sometimes. Though I love the story of the game, I love Sonic's character, I love the music. Like, I love so much about this game, but the gameplay brings it down so much, and that's such a bummer. And you know, like, gameplay is like the biggest part of a game, you know, like all the elements bring it together, but gameplay is why you get a game to play it. So if your worst part of your game is that, I almost feel like that's the biggest thing to bring it down. Hence why Heroes is like if everything else about Heroes, I'd probably put it in A, but the gameplay is just so, yeah. But Secret Rings, the gameplay is definitely different from Heroes. I mean, with how everything is, I'd put it over these two. Okay, thank you. Good night. I put it over these two, but the gameplay is just, it's so janky. So, like, so many times I can't put it in B tier. It's just, nah. Unleashed. Yes, sir. Oh my word. I'm so glad this game has been getting more, like, praise. Like, though that was, like, what, 2019 that probably started. So I'm a little behind on saying that, but doesn't matter. Unleashed, just, oh my word. Jason's probably second best performance, with Black Knight being his best, but man, he just delivers it all there. Sonic's characterization in this game at Black Knight is just the best of the series. It's so good. It's so fun to hear him. His dynamic with Chip is so fun. We get good moments with him and Amy, with Tails and Amy. I wish we got more of Tails and Amy in this game, like especially Amy, but I feel like they did a really good job there. The locations, oh my word. I know they're based off real locations, but I feel like they do a perfect blend of realism and Sonicism, I guess is a way to put it. It feels very Sonic-y while also feeling like, okay, yeah, I get what they're going with that. And the gameplay, oh my word, the best boost gameplay we're probably ever going to get. It is just so good. It's so fast-paced and like you got to be on your toes, and I just love it. I love it. I love it so much. Like, I can see why some people might find it overwhelming, but no, I think it's perfect for Sonic. The Werehog as well. I actually love the Werehog. It can be a bit overbearing. Sometimes it can be too long, and like for the 360 version, like medals can be hard to collect. But I feel like those are the only problems with the game, where like sometimes the medals are a bit much, and Werehog can be a bit like long. But other than that, I love the game. The music's stellar. The opening is absolute peak. It got some of the best advertising of the series with the Night of the Werehog. It's like, oh, I feel like I could keep going, but we gotta keep going. Black Knight, my guilty pleasure. So with this one, you might think it's like the same problem with Secret Rings with the controls, but actually no. They did a great idea with making it the nunchuck, and that obviously that was probably more for the sword mechanic, but it's obviously easier to control Sonic with a joystick over motion controls. I feel like that's what helps the gameplay more than anything, is the joystick. And the sword mechanic, though, like, obviously it's more of a gimmick, it's still super fun. Like, I feel like anyone could be like, yeah, swinging a sword, look at that Sonic. And, like, Sonic with a sword already was a goated idea. I kind of wish it didn't take until 2010, but I'm also glad it did, because we got Jason giving his best performance and his best characterization of Sonic. Oh my word, they did Sonic so well in this game. It's so crazy how we go from this Sonic to Color Sonic back to back. Like, the best Sonic to one of the worst. Because, I mean, it's not the worst. We'll get to him in a minute. Oh, but dude, the story is just so good. Putting Sonic in these like unique scenarios like this, it's just, I think it's such a fun idea, and that you could just tell they were really experimenting in Jason's era, and I'm glad we're getting back to that kind of era now. But it was just so fun. The music is some of the best in the series. Oh, it's so hard because the gameplay, like I said, the gameplay can bring it down. The gameplay is not as good as Sonic Adventure 2. And like all these 2D games probably have better designed, but I just love this game so much. I feel like I have to put it in, like for me, I have to put it in S. But no. Like, I feel like I'd want to play Adventure over Black Knight, though. You know what? Yeah. I have to see now. Here comes like, I gotta be realistic. I would probably play SA2 over Black Knight. Well, SA2 Sonic Stages over Black Knight. But that's the thing too. I'd probably play Black Knight over Tails and Eggman. I'm devising in my head. You know what? It's staying in A right now. We'll see how we go later. I definitely think it's a high A tier though. Like gameplay is not like gameplay's not peak, but everything else is. So like Sonic Colors. Now, like I said, the characterization of Sonic in this game is not that good. The story is pretty mediocre, and the cutscenes as a whole are just hard to sit through. But man, the locations are so fun. The levels, though, there's too much 2D. Still, they're a guilty pleasure. They're a joy. And I think like so many people have nostalgia for Colors just because it came out on the Wii. So many people had a Wii. It's kind of like the Galaxy, because like my friend group isn't really into Nintendo, but like they know Colors and they know Galaxy. Like the Wii was just so nostalgic, and this game I feel like has a lot of Wii nostalgia. Like the big thing is the gameplay is just not up to par with Unleashed. It's way more 2D, and the 3D is still not as fun. I'd say the collectibles are better though with the red rings, so I'll give it that. Oh man, I'll probably, let's see, the music. Oh yeah, the music and locations also are so fun. I feel like they really did that well. And the Wisps, though they overstayed the welcome of the Sonic franchise, I still think they're a fun mechanic for Colors. I definitely will put this in low A, but it definitely still an amazing time. It's one I still will go back to. And there's like a list of like how the game was originally going to be played, where like I think acts 1 and 2 like for Tropical Resort could be meshed together. Instead of being 6 force act, it'd be like 2 acts, and then basically how Colors DS does it. So basically if this game did how Colors DS did it, it would probably be high A or even S. So just remember that. Generations. Okay, well, speaking of boost, if I would definitely put this game, I don't know if I'd put it in S or A. Here's why. The music, amazing remixes, definitely amazing remixes, though I'll put like 75% are amazing and then 25% are pretty good. And the story is pretty bland. Like for an idea like this, they definitely don't go all out with how awesome it really could have been. And I mean, like the bosses, they're kind of more just like remakes or like, yeah, of like previous ones, which is this whole game. It's just like remaking stuff from previous games, which I'm not criticizing it. I'm saying that's its gimmick, because man, it does it so well. The level design in this game is so fun. I like love going back to modern Sonic stages and classic Sonics as well. Like I said, I'm not really a huge classic or 2D guy, even though I like look at this list, like got like 4 2Ds next to each other. But man, this game is still, it's just so good. The gameplay, it definitely is, the gameplay is, and music is what carries this game. Though the final boss is so lame and so tedious to fight. So I mean, that's definitely a downgrade. I would probably have to put it, I'd actually put it over SA2. Just because, man, like 2D isn't as good, but like it still beats. I'm trying to like, I have to think of that mentally. Like I'd still play it over SA2. Lost World. Now this one is very hard, because this one, like, as you guys know, I'm a Mario fan. I like it more than Sonic. So when like Sonic's gameplay gets to like a almost Mario feel, I'm not as mad as like other people though. Like here's the thing, when I go to play a Sonic game, I do expect like Sonic design, but like I can play this one still like and enjoy it, because like if it feels Mario-y, but like I'm even just a bit faster than Mario. I mean, I love Mario, so it doesn't affect me as much. Though what really brings this game down more than the gameplay is the writing. Oh my word. The 76 are so just one note, they're so boring. They're just like, I can't take them seriously. They're such lame villains. Sonic is the worst characterization of him in the series. So like you go from like Unleashed and Black Knight to the best for Lost World to have the literal worst. Now, like I've said, the gameplay is the big reason you go for a game, and I love the gameplay of Lost World. So, like, that's where I'm torn at. Because, like, I love the gameplay, and the music is pretty good. It's definitely not as good as, like, some of these in S and A. But it just, man, the gameplay is fun, but everything else just isn't up to par. And just the characterization of Sonic and writing as a whole is awful. So I'd have to put it in B below these ones for sure, just because, I mean, though I don't like the gameplay as much in Heroes, and 06 has its own set of problems. Lost World's just like, its gameplay is more fun, but just everything else is done so much worse. Mania. Now Mania is another Sonic 3 for me, where I just can't get into it as much. It's probably one of the most polished, if not the most polished 2D Sonic we've ever had. One of the biggest problems I have, which a lot of people as of recent have also, is like, it reuses a lot of old levels or like areas from old games, which like some people made excuses like, oh, it's like an anniversary thing, or like, no, it's really not. It's trying to be its own thing, and it just like, I don't know, it just was not, it doesn't excite me as much as like it excites other people. I don't know, if I'm gonna play a 2D Sonic, I prefer to play like Sonic 2, Rush, Advance 2, CD over Mania. And I mean, I'd probably play it over Sonic 3. I think it has more polish and more fun level design, though 3 has its more original places. And I mean, it has iconic stuff like Knuckles and that. But just Mania just doesn't hit like it does with the others for me. 3 games left after, Superstars. Forces. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. No, here's our first and probably only D tier. Oh my goodness, dude. It's just so disappointing. The level design is so bland and basic. The 2D isn't that fun. The Avatar, which was honestly probably the Avatar was a big selling point. The serious story was a selling point. And Old Villains was the selling point. Like, those were probably the biggest selling points. So let's see. The Avatar. Cool idea, lame execution. He's just, in my opinion, worst Sonic stages. Well, like, worst Sonic stages from, like, S and A tier. Or, like, normal boost stages. But better than Sonic in the Forces game. Serious story. The story was not serious at all. It was a serious story with, like, the worst writing for a story like that. And the return of Old Villains. Let's see. It was like a shadow android. They barely did anything with that. Metal Sonic was underutilized. Eggman's, like, most prized robot. And then what? Chaos was in one cutscene and never used again, which was the most hype of the bunch. I remember flipping out when they showed him, and it was lame. Like, I feel like stuff like that alone is why it's in D. But, like, I haven't even mentioned Classic Sonic being awful in that game. He's awful to control and not fun at all. The music is very 50-50. You got some bangers in there like Sunset Height, Luminous Force, and Ed Gate, Fist Bomb. And then, like, Classic Sonic, like, half of them just are awful or just are so forgettable. So, and I mean, Infinite 2, supposed to be this hype new villain. He's just like a petty crybaby. So, you know what? I like what the idea was for Forces, but they just dropped the bar so awfully. It's kind of funny too. Like most people, I feel like we put Lost World and Forces like close to each other, and I got one in B, one in D. Oh man, and second to last, Frontiers. You already know it's got to go in S, dude. Frontiers had so much going that it needed to do after Forces. Like, it had to be the thing to save Sonic, basically, again, after what Forces... And, I mean, Lost World, like, the whole Roger era really was just bringing. And, I mean, it executes it almost perfectly. Like, it still has a lot of problems with the fighting. It could be... The fighting could be better. Open Zone could have more. The popping, Like, there's a lot of things... Like, there's a lot of little things that it does wrong. But what it does right is, I feel, it's so much bigger. It brings our characters back to the way they need it to be. Sonic is better. Amy still has some work. She was too, like, mopey and serious in that game. Knuckles, I feel like, was done a lot better, though. Like I've said in my playthrough, if this comes out before the playthrough, then, But, I don't feel like his leaving the island makes sense because of Adventure. And Tails was definitely good because they're bringing him back to his roots. And that's what they needed to do with the character. And I'm happy for that. Like I said, though, I don't believe Eggman-Sage relationship. I don't know. I'm trying to, like, put the praises and negatives all together, without a script. So that's the biggest problem here. But, man, what this game does right, though, just the open zone is so much fun. The challenges are, like, 90% of them are always a blast. The story, though, has a lot of problems in there. It's still really fun and really good. Just bringing the characters back. The Supersonic battles, obviously, I gotta get to. They're some of the best in the series. Like the hypeness of Undefeatable and like, Giganto, Wyvern, Knight, and I mean Supreme kind of sucks, but then I feel like the end, both versions of the end are still really good. And I think what it does more than anything is give us hope for the future of Sonic. It really does show like that the writing's gonna be good, the music's gonna be good again, and like they're understanding what gameplay they want to move with Sonic, and they're gonna get. I feel like they're gonna experiment more in the future, so we're gonna get back to a more experimental phase like we did with late Jason. So I'm excited. And I mean the updates, like the photo mode, like a gimmick, was still really fun. Collecting the music around the island for past games was a great idea. I mean the birthday stuff, the new challenges, that was also great. The new challenges were harder, and that was, I feel like, really needed. And then, I mean, let's talk about that third update with the new version of the end, which was amazing. Playable Amy, Tails, and Knuckles again, though not their best gameplay versions out there. It's still great to just play as them again, and I feel like if they're in a new game, they'll be good. Well, here, you know what? There's also Sonic Dream Team that came out, so I'll put Sonic 3. You could be Dream Team. You go and you go and never played. Don't own an Apple product. Thank you guys. And this will be our Sonic Superstars placeholder. Now, here's the thing. Sonic Superstars, I get to play as Amy in 2D. That was awesome. The new locations, they definitely go into more new locations than like Mania did. Though they're not as good as Mania's new locations. You get my point. I still do appreciate that. Problem is, the gameplay feels so like bare bones. Like there's nothing that really pops. There's just nothing that sticks out to me. It feels very basic. Here's the thing though, it's a good 2D game. There's nothing offensive about it, but like it's not like amazing. I feel like there's nothing I really like need to go, oh yep, this is what I want to play right now. The multiplayer isn't really as enticing as like say like a Mario 2D game is, but I feel like that also goes with the speed of Sonic too. But I'm glad they tried it. I feel like it's something in the future we don't need to go for unless it does like a Mario Wonder route. So we'll see what they do. Like I said, it's not really offensive. It's just kind of basic bare bones 2D Sonic. So I mean, here we are. Here's my whole list. I mean, yeah, you can only see D to E. I don't know. They're like Sonic and Mario as a whole. Just really like, there's no games I'd say I hate, but like Forces, I mean maybe Forces, but all these games I'll go back to and enjoy to some extent. But as you can see, if I'm picking any, it's going to be these four. If I'm going to pick 2D, like here's my top 3. If I'm going to pick 3D, here's my top 3. So, you know, here's a basic like how my brain works. It's not, I wouldn't say I'm the average Sonic fan, especially with SA2 and Sonic 3 and Mania where they are, but you know, I feel like this is fair, honestly. I would recommend all of S and A, and even I'd recommend B. Like I'd really recommend S through B. And C, I mean, I would say these games are fun to try out and see if you like it yourself. So really, just play some Sonic, guys, honestly. Like people overhated on Sonic for so long, so I feel like now we're in a phase where people are going to start playing Sonic. And I mean, hey, I just can't wait to see what the future holds. The next 3D Sonic game is going to be awesome. I mean, what Sega's doing now with all the releases of classic games, I feel like we're going to get a new return to Sega. So I'm excited for what Sega has a whole and what Sonic is going to be. So hey, play Sonic Adventure and Unleashed and Frontiers.